Well, I'm so excited to be here today. Normally, I don't go live on Wednesday, but I have two special guests that I really want to introduce you to. And I also want to talk about a very important subject that they're bringing light to that I think you all will be excited about, which is why love feels so trapping. And so today I'm joined by Stephanie and Ali Shmail, who are the director and producer of the movie that's going to be released soon called I Love You, My Narcissist. And I got to be part of this project in February as one of the experts, which was an amazing experience. So today we're going to talk about why love is a trap, why we miss the red flags in context of why this movie is pertinent and how does it speak to it. So first of all, why don't you two introduce yourselves a little bit? Like, why did you get interested in this topic in general? Like, why produce and create the movie I Love You, My Narcissist?
Mhm. Hi, I'm Stephanie Schmal. I'm a film producer and I have a production company in Germany. I'm also an actor. And I've been interested in the topic of narcissism for many, many years for personal reasons. And I've just basically stumbled across the topic and then got interested and watched a lot of YouTube videos and read a lot on the subject and thought that's really interesting because it feels like it's happening to a lot of people in different contexts, like love, school, workplaces. And I got curious why it's not talked about so much. And now I
Mhm.
realize people are talking about it more often now, but still there could be more awareness. And that's also more or less why we started to do this project to raise awareness.
So did you guys have a script to work off, or did you create it from the start? I mean, how did you get this whole thing going?
Yeah, originally we wanted to do a documentary, but then Ali had a great idea about how to approach it differently. I guess that's a good way to also get
Yeah,
Ali on board and introduce himself.
yeah. First of all, I introduce myself. I'm Ali Ishmael. I'm producer and sometimes director, and I directed the feature film "I Love You, My Narcissist," which we had the honor to have Dr. Kerry with us during the production and use her inputs for the film and for the situations in the film. Um, yeah, the original idea, as I Stephanie said, we had the idea of making a documentary where we invite some survivors, some experts, taking some archive materials and some stock footage and stuff like this, and putting them together and create a documentary. But then we came up with the idea, okay, it doesn't work that way because we don't want just to have a YouTube video or similar to that, or the usual documentary that everyone else knows. And then I came up with the idea of making a hybrid genre film. It means that we mix the documentary and the fiction part together. And for that, we needed an idea how to approach this goal. And then we took two stories that already exist, and then we interviewed more than 15 survivors and added the real experience of those 15 survivors into these two stories, so to make it even better, even more understanding for people to get connected with the characters and to understand, because narcissistic behavior, they have, I would say, often similar patterns, and to understand that, we came up with the idea of interviewing people and putting their experiences into these two real stories.
Yeah, I have to say, when I read the script, I was profoundly affected because you capture so well the subtleties that happen in these relationships. That both the characters, because you're telling two different stories from two different people's perspective, both these characters make decisions that seemingly are good decisions, but take them in terrible directions. And boy, isn't that the case that we often find in these toxic relationships? Is that what seems to be good and wonderful and maybe even too good to be true ends up being a disaster. Can you talk about like one of the scenes in which you see that there's sort of this red flag that's really that's actually looks like a green flag, but it's actually a red flag?
Yeah. For us, it was really important to show a lot about the beginning of the relationships, because from the outside perspective, when you haven't, when you don't really know anything about the narcissistic dynamics, then you think, oh, this relationship would have never happened to me. How could somebody be so stupid and fall in love with a narcissist? But in the beginning, these relationships look really nice, and it's very easy to fall into the trap, because everybody wants to feel special. Everybody wants to get this extra attention. And then when a person comes along and tells you all the nice things, like, you are so special, you're so beautiful, you're this one person for me, then of course you want to believe that.
Yeah.
And we try to implement a lot of scenes in the beginning where everything feels so nice for both of the characters. For example, one of the characters, Emily, she's an aspiring actress, and she meets this casting director that sees so much potential in her, because she's not only a great actress, but she's also a great singer and has this personality that he thinks is, or that he tells her is so charming and interesting. It has a great presence. And then, so it's easy for her to feel seen and valued and believe him. And yeah, she gets the hope that he will open so many doors for her.
Right, right. And most of us would love to have that kind of opportunity, and yet we don't realize that that not always is what it seems to be. I mean, I remember in my own relationship meeting my ex, that thinking, this is going to be another great relationship. He checks all the boxes and he's very aligned with me, and it's hard to find somebody like that. So it's hard because these relationships look so desirable. We don't realize that there's really a setup, and you do that a really great job with the story of the actress of the setup. But I also was even thinking about the other character, the other story. The setup there is very different, but again, what I noticed on both of these, and this is the other thing that gets trapped, kind of a similar theme in all of these abusive relationships, is that they love to find a transitional point. Both of these characters are in a transitional point in their life. Emily wants to break into a new career, but you also then have Michael, the other story, who's in a tenuous position with his status with the country. You want to talk a little bit about what his situation is and what makes him vulnerable?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for Michael in this case, his asylum refugee status just got rejected by the government, and he needs help because he's forced to leave the country within 14 days, and if he doesn't apply any appeal, so he has to leave, and nobody knows what happens to him as soon as he leaves the country and goes back to his home country. So he seeks for help. He seeks for someone who could possibly help him to apply that appeal, and he meets Sarah. So in this case, Sarah praises on his need and his need of support, and starts building somehow trust and saying, hey, you are with me, you are safe, so no worry about that, I take care of everything. So it makes Michael so vulnerable of such relationship because he has no other options.
Right, right. And both of those stories, I think this is something that's kind of common. We don't actually talk a whole lot about, is that often these people come in bigger than life. They offer a solution. They seem like they're confident, so we believe them. We feel like we can, and then they do some things that's called anchoring. They do a kind of like rescuing protective behavior that makes us feel trusting, so that we think they are the solution, that that makes us dependent. They build a dependency. And you can see that in both of those situations in which this dependency is growing. I mean, Michael's got 2 weeks where he's going to be out. And then Emily may not get a break if she doesn't get lucky and meet another contact like that. Were you aware of that? Were you aware of that both of these relationships was building a dependency with the primary abusive person when you're creating the script or looking at the script?
That's a really good question. I think we were. I guess we would have liked to talk even to tell even more stories, but we only have this
Right.
one film and just a short amount of time. So we decided for these two stories because it's even easier to step into the trap there and see the vulnerability and why they would trust another person. I don't remember, Ali, maybe you can say something about this. Did we purposefully choose the kind of dependencies?
Um, at the very beginning, why we at the very beginning it was not on purpose, but we wanted to make it believable for people, for the audience to also get connected better to the characters and with the characters. So we came up with the idea of taking these two real stories because they already exist, and then the main reason with these two stories was the dependency that the main characters had already in that relationship, and then we start developing that dependency throughout the film, and making and adding the situations in very slowly into the film, so we can work with that better in the film.
Now, what degree did you get expert input into creation of the script? Because I could tell, I mean, this is not your area of expertise. I mean, maybe you might have. I'm sure you've not had a perfect relationship track history yourselves, but that doesn't make you a PhD in narcissism. But I could tell that you guys really knew what happens on the back end of these relationships. So, how did you get that kind of credibility, that kind of expertise?
For me personally, it was my personal experience because I raised in a narcissistic family. My father is a narcissist, something between borderline and narcissist,
Hmm.
and I experienced that in the whole of my life. So many situations in the film while we were shooting the film, they were somehow at some points triggers for me. For example, I told sometimes with some scenes, I told the people, yeah, hey, put my monitor in that room, no one should be in that room, I want to be alone, and I
Mm.
close the door, because those situations were too tough and too hard for me, and they reminded me of my own life story. And then while we were writing the script with our two writers, we also talked and discussed a lot every single situation. And at some point, after we met you and the other experts that we have in the film, all of you are amazing and very well known, very amazing in this topic as well. We got also your feedbacks, and then we developed the story and the situations based on every feedback that we got from you. And so with that we could make it possible for the situations to look real, to feel real, and to be believable by the audience.
Yeah, yeah. In
And
fact, I
then
was
we
just
also
yeah,
and
yeah. I
then
was
we
gonna.
also sorry.
Sorry, go for it, Stephanie.
I was going to add, we also interviewed a lot of survivors that were generous
Mhm.
and shared their stories with us. So we also got to see a lot of different dynamics from their stories, and implemented elements from their stories in the script as well.
Yeah, yeah, and why don't you introduce who the experts were that you had on the film? Because I know that was you really went for. I saw high caliber, very very well known people who had a great expertise in this arena.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying I was in company of that, but I was actually feeling very
Yeah.
complimented to be in the company of that.
Yeah,
Honestly, but
yeah. One of the experts for sure is you. So we were very happy and very lucky to have you in the film and during the shootings in Germany while we are shooting the film. The other experts that we have, we we were very lucky and very happy to have Dr. Ramani in the
yeah,
film.
that was
We could
amazing.
we could we could we could get get her confirmation, and she after a couple of meetings she said yes, I'm in, and that was amazing. We have Lisa Sunny in the film as an expert, which is also amazing,
Yeah.
with her inputs and everything. We have Danielle Radin. It's also amazing. We have Manjit Ruprai also in the film as an expert, and Emma Davey. And all of you are amazing experts with a lot of knowledge about these such relationships, and for narcissistic abuse and narcissistic abuse recovery and healing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say when when I was interrupting you, sorry about that, Stephanie, is that it was triggering for
Sure.
me. I was sharing off camera that one of the ways in which I had been kind of abused was it was an intrusiveness with a camera and being filmed. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect. I'd never been filmed like that before. I mean, I filmed this, but I'm in complete control. I turn the camera on. I know the angle. I know, I'm running the show. So it really is a very different experience. And I know people would be shocked to hear that I don't like giving you the camera to take a film of me. That's a completely different experience. So it was intense. It was very I was yeah, I feel like I was dissociating a lot. It was really very hard to have that such a intense tension on me. So like you, Ali, I had to kind of go and decompress and really process what was this stirring up for me to be in it. But also, one of the stories was Emily's stories closely mirrored mine, and not that I was an actress looking to be successful, but I met that I somebody who is a serial cheater who is using physical intimacy in a very destructive way. And so that storyline was a challenging storyline for me to be aware of. So one of the things that that the show does a really good the movie does a really good job talking about is how this kind of this private life and public life that happens between the abuser and the abusee, how there's what they experience privately, but then what's being shown publicly. Can you talk about a little bit more what your thoughts were as you were making that part? And I was thinking particularly of Michael's story. There's a lot of you really kind of honed in on the looking good aspect, how they're very image management conscious. In fact, this whole family is sick. It isn't just that he meets Sarah that's sick. It's everybody in that family is not very healthy.
Yeah. In the story, we focus more on seeing the private lives and the private interactions, but we hear about the outside presentation. Like, for example, the two narcissists that Michael has to deal with are his girlfriend and later wife, Sarah, and her mother. They run a foundation that is actually supposed to help refugees. So they create this image of being so generous and helpful and empathetic. Um, and then in private, they are just using this image for their own benefit. And Sarah is basically using Michael as a tool to please her mother and create this picture of this, like you said earlier, this larger than life picture.
Mm-hmm.
And then a bit of that is also happening in the other story with the casting director and Emily, because from the outside, he's the successful casting director. And then on the inside, you see the cracks and the dark sides of him and the abuse towards Emily.
Yeah. And that makes it really tough for the survivor because when they try to be believed and they go out and say this is happening, they're like the world looks at it and is like, what? They're great people. They're doing really good things. And you did a really nice job of showing that difference, the public versus the private side, that these were actually pretty monstrous people, but to the public they looked almost like heroes and heroines. And I thought that was very, very powerful. Did you have
Yeah, there
some
is.
Yeah, what did you want to add about that, Allie?
Yeah, I wanted to add that that this public image management is also in Sarah and Michael's story is also very, very, very broader than just having the friends and the surrounding just talking about it. Because, for example, Sarah getting giving an interview with the news for the TV channel, and then spreading the words about her engagement, and then wanting Michael to talk about it, about the engagement. And Michael has no idea what is it about because he wasn't prepared, he wasn't there already at all for that interview, and just pulled over to into that situation. So it's not just saying, let's say, the foundation employees or such thing. It's much broader than that.
Yeah, I'm smiling because they're good about doing that. Do you think that you know where you stand? You think you know what the schedule is or the intent or the plan is? The next thing you know, it's gone some completely sideways thing, and that you feel blindsided. So you are trying not to react in the moment, but you also then it's usually not what you want. So then you're trying to deal with all the emotional reactions that you have when this is happening. Somebody asked in the audience, I know you guys can't see the questions coming in, but one of the people want to know, when will we be actually able to view the movie?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We are working hard on the film to finish it and making it public for the audience. There is a good news. There is a link in the description of this live where it says watch party, ILYMN/watch party. If you click on that link and enter your email address and subscribe, you would be one of the first ones who get notified to watch the film, because we are going to send invitations and send emails and notifications to the people who subscribe it to that list, so they can just join and then be able to watch the film after it's released. And if anyone likes to be one of the first ones to watch the film, so feel free to click on the link, enter your email address, and we will notify you as soon as the film is published. The latest date that we are thinking of publishing the film is next year in summer, sometimes in end of summer.
Okay, so sometime summer of 2026, you're thinking.
Yes.
Okay. There's a lot that goes into this, isn't it? I even just get into the little, I mean, there was a crew, and I hear that you guys had a small crew for what you usually have on a set. You usually have that was like a pared down group, but it was still like, she's. I mean, that's a lot of. I mean, I thought you guys must end the day just utterly exhausted. Is that what it feels like? Because there's so many moving parts that's happening.
Yeah,
I think.
I should go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to just say that we have been without the cast members, we have been just 40 people on set every day, and the most amazing part is every single person in that team, in that crew, believed on us, believed on the project, and they worked. Every single one of them worked in a deferred payment basis. It means they didn't expect any money upfront, any wages, anything. And they said, as soon as the film is released, the film is sold, they get paid for their work that they are doing.
Wow.
So we hope for a successful release, and we hope that we have enough audience so that we will be able to pay them off for their great work that they did, because you can't believe it. We watched the very first rough cut of the film, and we couldn't believe it. It's amazing. And I see that someone is asking the name of the film. The name of the film is "I Love You, My Narcissist."
Yeah. In fact, the other thing that impressed me about the team, that your crew, was that they were international. I mean, really, when you thought about the people that were there in that room, we shouldn't have been getting along. Politically, we should not have been getting along. I think there was Ukraine and Russia, and then the United States and Germany and Italy. I mean, it was really UK was also there.
Poland.
I mean, and everybody where? Ireland?
Poland.
Oh, Poland. Yeah, we were all like warm, friendly, cooperative. I was amazed. I was thinking, to me, that was one of the parts that actually touched me the deepest, was getting to see this cross section of the world in around something so important, and that there was such passion about this.
Yeah, that was something that I wanted to add too, that I was just so happy and grateful with the atmosphere that everybody from the crew decided to bring to set. Everybody decided to be generous with each other. And even though like working on set is really stressful, it's long hours, a lot of things have to get done quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and there are different interests in different parts of the crew, but everybody was just really passionate about the work and also very much aware of the type of project that we're making. So yeah, everybody was just really generous, and I value that so much.
I do too, because one of the things that can happen is that there's what something called parallel process. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that before, but what happens is kind of pathologically happening that you guys were acting it out. It wasn't actually a real life situation, but it can start to affect and show up at multiple levels. And then you can see it be played out over and over as you move up the line of power. And what I didn't see is I didn't see any parallel process. There were no blurred boundaries. There was no abusiveness in the backstage. No anybody trying to show anybody else up. I mean, all of those types of dynamics can be are risky. I mean, especially when you get a group of people, I don't know how well you knew them, but you're putting a group together and you're hoping they're healthy. And that's what I really saw behind the scene was just this incredible push, passion, but a lot of healthy relationships.
Yeah, that's also the case, because it's I should say also it's a rare situation for in film productions that a film set and the crew works so harmonic together. That's not usual and not
Yeah.
always, and not understandable for everyone. So we are very happy to have such an amazing team and amazing people helping us, working with us together. We don't say they worked for us; we say they worked with us together
Hmm.
and make this project happen.
Yeah, because in the background, while this filming was happening, the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively was heating up, and I was thinking about the
Right.
irony of that. That here I'm on a set, and this drama is happening, which is like who's even, and that's one of the hard parts about this. That's in that you guys showed really well in the film is whose story is believable. Because one of the things I said earlier is that you said the smear campaign, or you know. I was thinking of, for example, Michael's story. Michael is needy. He's going to lose his a place to live. He may have to go back to the country he left that he doesn't want to return to. He's vulnerable, and he's in a very vulnerable state to where his girlfriend, then soon to be wife, could say basically whatever she wants to about him, create this new narrative for him, and that it gets very dangerous. Like, so when I look into Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, I know I felt like I was scratching my head trying to figure out which story was true. And that's what you really showed in this film is that gets to be the tough part when somebody says no, they hurt me, and the other person goes no, they took advantage of me. So you want to talk more about that dynamic in the story?
Do you want to do that, Ali?
Mm, if you want, you can do that.
What we wanted to show there is, like you said, the vulnerability that somebody has that doesn't have any kind of support system basically behind him anymore, because it's not his country, it's not his native language that is
Mm,
spoken around him. Um, then also in this case, he's a man, and a man getting abused is not like it's easier for us to believe that a woman is abused
yeah.
than that a man can also be abused. Um, yeah, and then for a refugee also, or for refugees, there's also not a lot of psychological support. So then this adds another layer. Like who could he reach out to when his support system, that's supposed to be his family and his wife, is abusing him?
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. And you also may have the layer. I don't know what it's like in Germany, which is this is where this is set, but at least in the United States, there isn't always a positive attitude towards immigrants. So you may have the
Right.
layer of on top of it, we don't want you here. So we're not all that broken if you're not here.
Right.
Yeah, in Germany, it's also similar depending on who you meet and where you go, but I think it's similar all over the world.
Yeah.
for the refugees in this case. Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the things I feel kind of ashamed just realizing it. I came across a book from TikTok. I was watching one of my favorite creators. Um, was I can't even remember her full name. I think it's Mel Hammond or something like that. She's a journalist. She's a prolific writer. But she was talking about a new book that came out by Tammy Triolo called The Empathy Gap. And Tammy is taken it from the perspective of racism in the United States. And I was reading the book and it just broke me because what she's writing about is what happens interpersonally between people, is what happens between races, between genders, between groups of people. That it's the same dynamic, like I was talking about parallel process. It's the same process that happens of the same dynamics, the same lack of empathy, the same victimization, the same kind of like twisting of stories and exploitation. It can happen between you and me, but it also can happen between groups of families and groups of people and races of people. And so yeah, I love that you added that tension of him being in another country and that weight of that, the dynamics around all of that, what that felt like. But I was also aware of that, because of that, that really made him vulnerable to possible prejudice. That it would have been easy, not only because he was a man, but easy for him to say, no, she obviously is the victim. Look at what she did, how she took him in and did so many things to try to save him. And then he's not grateful and he's like saying she's not doing it. I mean, so I really thought that was extremely a powerful point that you had in there.
Yeah, and that's also something that he's struggling a lot with too, internally. Like when he's questioning the relationship, giving himself the permission. Can I even question this when she's giving me so much? She did all, like, she helped me so much in my whole life to get me grounded and settled, and now I'm starting to have all these doubts. Is that
Yeah.
justified, or am I making this up?
Yeah. No. And then and I love where you took the story. You didn't try to tell a whole story. Now, why don't you talk about why you didn't try to you ended it in a way and kind of in a cliffhanger, don't you think?
Yeah.
So help me decide why you didn't show the whole arc. You showed up to the peak and then stopped.
The reason for that is because we wanted the audience to connect with the characters and to think if their relationships are going this way, or they recognize similar behaviors in their relationships. Because if we tell the whole story and have a proper ending and everything, so the audience says, yeah, might say, okay, amazing, I had this and now it's done, so that was a nice film. But in this way, the audience will think about the situations in the film. We had some several feedbacks on the first rough cut that we had, that the audience, the people said, yeah, hey, at the end of the film, I was sitting for 15 to 20 minutes and thinking of my current relationship and my past relationships, and I found similar patterns, similar situations,
Mm.
and I was scared. They told us that they were scared because now they realize if they continue that relationship,
Mm.
they would have been stuck in those relationships. So we kept it this way, so the audience can think of their own relationship, because with the film we also aim to raise awareness and we hope that the audience who watches the film could recognize the red flags, the patterns beforehand. And
Yeah.
that's why we have also you and Dr. Ramani, Lisa Sani, Daniel Rodin, Manjit Ruprai, and Emma Devi as experts in the field to comment, to give us commentary on the situations that happens and the red flags that happens, and on every single situation in the film, so the audience can recognize that, can think about that. Yeah, okay, that happens almost in every relationship of mine, but I didn't took it seriously. And now I see, okay, that's actually a red flag in the
Mhm.
relationship. So from now on, I will keep it as a red flag. And then the next one that it happens, I will be careful about my relationship.
Yeah, you did note another thing though, and I think you did this intentionally as well. And somebody says spoilers. No, we're not giving any spoilers, but the other thing that you did is not everybody can relate to what happens in these relationships. When I talk to somebody who's never experienced this, there's a blankness. They don't really get the terror. I felt terror in that relationship, and it in an ongoing basis, day in and day out. I was terrified watching his moves, trying to anticipate what's going to happen next, trying to get ahead so he doesn't injure me in some way, and feeling like there's literally I just like I was in a trap. I don't know how much you know of my story, but I'd made him partner of a company, and then I had provided all the assets, and then when we were breaking up, he wanted me to split the company and share the assets, which was going to financially devastate me. So there was this competition between the two of us that was really, really painful. And what hit me is, if you don't understand what it's like, the 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 complexity and the intimidation and the menace these people play out with you, that it's very hard to relate. And what I love about this movie is that you increase it to such a feverish pitch, and then you leave us there. And for those who then can say, "Oh, oh, that's why this is why this is so tough. Now I get it, because these people are facing bad, 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 bad. I mean, their options are bad, and that's what these relationships are like. It's not like there's a there's the story of the tiger and the lady. You pick a door and you either get the tiger. There is no lady. There's a tiger behind every door. But I think most people can't relate to that kind of what those kind of relationships are like. So yeah, talk more about that. What did you know that you were doing that you were bringing us into it in a very empathic level?
Yeah, we did that actually on purpose to make the audience think of their relationships, because there are some documentaries out there about narcissistic relationships. There are also many feature films about or fictional films about narcissistic relationships that are very superficial, and the narcissist is the hero there and stuff like this. And in many cases, we hear and we heard also in some cases that the people say, "Hey, that people that is in that relationship is their own fault. They
Mm-hmm.
are sorry, they are stupid.
Yeah.
They knew that it's going to be like this, so they didn't go out. Okay, you knew after a month that this is a relationship. Why they don't go out of this relationship?
Right. Right.
It's not that easy, and we try to achieve the goal that we keep the audience questioning their relationships and their behaviors and say, yeah, hey, everyone or anyone could stuck in such relationship, could be stuck in such relationship, and it's not if the person is poor or has no value or anything, could just possibly be vulnerable. A doctor, a very self-confident person, a very educated person, they might be also vulnerable
Yeah.
and fall into the trap of narcissists.
Yeah, because the trap is subtle and slow and insidious. And I know that now that I look back, I can see how I was being moved incrementally into a deeper, and some of it was my own suggestions. That's even better, when they can use your momentum to get you into a worse position. And you can see that that happens in your story as well. Is that, for example, it was my idea for us to move to Mexico. I don't know if you guys know that I was international as well. I was an immigrant as well. And by the way, in the peak of it, just hit me recently, I lost my resident card. So now I'm in trouble with the country, because I can't leave and come back. And my status with the country is now in jeopardy. And it took me, by the way, a year to get a new resident card to be in good status with Mexico. I now think he stole it. He took it
Mm.
because we were breaking up, and there's a possibility that we're divorcing, and he was afraid I was going to run back to the United States and take the money. So he stole my card, I believe fully now. Incidentally, he's also the one that showed up at the interview to vouch for my person, to say I was who I was to get the card back, but I believe he did it to trap me. But you don't realize that these people are pulling you in and sealing you in something that is terrible. You have no idea. I think of Emily's story, like she gets in deeper and deeper. She doesn't realize that every step is a deeper step. You know, when I was reading the script, I was like, no, no, don't do that. You know, because now that I've experienced, I can see it. But we don't realize this is coercive control. We think is they care about us, they love us. This is the way they're helping us get ahead. This maybe they know more than we know, so we trust their expertise on it. Yeah, can you speak more about that? How Emily
Yeah.
was being pulled in like that?
Yeah, that's why the beginning of the film was so important to us, to really show like how the trust is built. Because when the beginning is so nice and you get all these compliments and all these nice gestures, gifts, validation, and then you just gradually open up and trust the other person, then when they make other suggestions, you're more likely to lean in, I guess.
Yeah.
And so then it's easy also for Emily's case as an aspiring actress, when a casting director that is as well known as Sebastian is makes suggestions to her, and in the beginning there are suggestions, then she's thinking about it, then she's doing it, and then at some points it's not suggestions anymore, but it's you have to do this, you can't do this, you can't talk to this person, you
Yeah.
can't wear this dress, and it gradually changes her entire personality and the way
Right.
she thinks about herself and gets insecurities about herself.
Right, which then he then leans into and then worsens on purpose, and you can see that as well. Yeah. Somebody asked, "What's this movie rated?"
The movie we assume that could be possibly rated for 16 plus.
Okay, so in the United States, that would be PG or PG-13. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But
Yeah.
it will be
So
16
there's no foul
plus.
language. I know that, and you don't have
No
any.
foul language, but we will have some explicit scenes
Okay.
that could make the film be 16 plus.
Okay.
I don't know in how the rating is in the US.
I don't know either. I don't know if it would be. It doesn't really U.S. at this point.
But
what we show on
but
things like HBO is like, you know, really. So
yeah, and the people are asking where the film where can they film they watch the film. As we say, there is a link in the description of this live where you can subscribe to the watch party, and we will notify first these people who subscribes to this list to be one of the first ones to watch the film after it's released,
right.
and it will be sometime soon.
Right. So I want to start to take audiences' questions. So I'm going to want to warn them if you guys have questions about the film or about filming or even about anything related to narcissistic abuse, we really want to open it up and invite you guys in on this conversation with Ali and Stephanie. Yeah. Do you think you'll do some more in line with this, with more on the subject of mental health or even abuse? Is that likely? You guys are heading in that direction at all?
Right now, it's not one of our most recent projects, but our philosophy for the company is to do social critical themes and also themes related around mental health. So it's very likely that we do something similar again in the future.
I would love that. It would be great. I would love to see, and even if it's part of me, would love to have you tell the rest of the story. Maybe I don't know if you have an interest in that. It may not go over well, but I do think that that would be fun to see you guys do this again in some way. Why did you decide to invite experts in? What was your what was your thought process on that? Because that I had never. I mean, okay, we have documentaries like sort of docudramas in the United States where they retell and they dramatize the show, but then they interview the person who's the survivor, and then they interview experts and people around. But it's not like a movie with experts breaking in. So help me understand why how you came up with that.
Yeah, in the very can I, or do you
Go ahead.
want?
Go ahead.
Okay. In the very beginning, we wanted to do a pure documentary. So just have experts come over and have them interviewed and interview survivors. But then we thought, what would be a newer way to present this topic, a more interesting way? Because documentaries about this topic have been done before. Um, And also we thought, what would be a good way to actually protect the people that we interview, the survivors that we interview? Because we also don't want to have people go to their social media or find their find their contacts and reach out to them and tell them how stupid they are.
Yeah.
So we thought this would be a nice way to then implement elements of their story, but not exposing their story and what they shared with us. And then having you come in as the experts to then basically take a step back and look at the story from the outside and evaluate with us from the outside what the people that we see, the survivors that we see in the stories, are going through in these moments. Why are they reacting the way they react?
Yeah, but you also did you do it for tension relief as well? Was there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I wondered about that because
Yeah.
that when and I'm a writer, so I often think about like sometimes you tell a backstory to change the pacing of the story. So when you do this interview, you inject these interviews, not only is it educational and it's helpful to hear why all this is happening, but also it's changing the pacing of the storyline too, the emotional feel of it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the point is also, we didn't want to make it hard for the audience to watch the whole film, because many times it could possibly have triggers for some for a specific group of people who are very deep in such relationships,
Yeah.
and they are traumatized and so on. So we didn't want them to get triggered, and with the expert interviews, they get at the same time good information, and possibly information that could help them overcome the situation or find a way in that situation, and at the same time beat down the tension and make it more relaxing for the audience. We have also, for example, for in fourth part of the film, shared during the film, that there is music and singing, that Michael is playing the piano and Emily in the other story just hops on the music and the piano music and is singing. And
Mm.
it's also very it's a very nice moment for the audience. Although one or two of these parts are very sad because of the tension at that time of the story, but it's still tension, reducing tension
Mhm.
in the film.
Mhm. Yeah, how conscious are you of that when you look at the script and you're watching the filming? That is that something that because I mean, in a way, you don't have the background. We see the end product with the background music, and we don't see all the back, people around. I think that the other thing that's amazing is, you think that those people are alone in that room. No, there's a whole crowd around them. So how aware are you that tension is building in these junctures? And also you film it in fragments, so you're not even filming it maybe even in logical order. So
Um, it's you mean during the shooting, right?
yeah, because is that hard to measure as a director that this pacing's working or the tension is building? Is that hard to measure?
Yeah, the pacing comes at the first with the script. That the script shows us if the pacing is working or not. And for I Love You, My Narcissist, the pacing, I won't say is a very fast pacing. It's something in between fast and slow, a little bit more towards the slow pacing. But at the same time, we created a chart that shows that the tension is going up in this scene, going down and up and down. And then our escape supervisor just noted that. And before we shoot every scene, I talked to the escape supervisor and asked him, yeah, hey, now tell me what happens in Emily's story before this scene, what happens after that, and what happens in my killer story before this scene, and what happens after that. So depending on this information, I could decide, okay, now the tension of this scene for the characters and for the situation should be this. Okay, talk to the cinematographer and tell him, yeah, hey, now we need a light similar to that or like this, with this tension, with this drama also, and then talking to the set designers and costume designers and everyone else, so we can manage that. But many of these parts was already done in the pre-production, because we also had, for example, it's called camera Ricky, where the cameraman, the gaffer, and the director and the producer and the production manager go on the location, at the location before the shooting starts, before the set design, anything, and they discuss every aspect of that particular scene to make everything easier and faster on the shooting day, so we don't waste any time.
That is fascinating. I wondered, I mean, I'm not surprised to hear how much depth and work goes in ahead, because it felt like that, but it is really fascinating, because when you're there and you're seeing it, you can realize how big of a challenge it is to have this work. I mean, I think I remember hearing, wasn't it Star Wars, that they thought this might be a biggest flop ever, this may be the silliest thing ever, and yet when you see the final piece, it really, I mean, I remember going seeing it as a 15-year-old, those 2.5 hours just passed. I really went into a hypnotic state. It was so powerful. And so, it's hard. Is that hard to know as a director when you're hitting the notes just right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So any questions you might have for Ali and Stephanie, guys? I'm watching the feed right now to see if you have any questions for them about this movie, or even about what went into the movie, or maybe even about what they've, because here's one of my questions. So now that you did this, what do you now know about narcissistic abuse that you didn't know before? I'd love to hear both of your thoughts about that.
Ladies first.
No,
Yes,
don't even
give
love
the
him for
tough
that.
question to me
Jeez.
first.
Yeah, exactly.
I can start if you want.
Honestly, for me, I feel like sometimes like the more you research a topic, the less you feel like you really know about it.
Mm.
Like the more questions I feel like you have. This is happening for me. Like I do understand the dynamics, and I also like understand how to look for the patterns. But then for me, it's still tough to distinguish like where's the line, because
Mm.
everybody has some narcissistic tendencies, or some like
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, we probably do.
so like where is the line? That's
Yeah.
still a question that I'm
And you don't really have a
navigating
good
for
answer for
myself.
that, Stephanie, where the line is.
No.
Yeah, that's great. That's fascinating. How about for you, Ali? What was the surprise for you?
For me, it was surprising after doing researches, after interviewing the survivors for the script, for the story, after finishing the script and after the shooting and everything, and after giving also the feedback from the experts on the shooting days while we were interviewing you all. It was surprising for me because I had flashbacks in my life, um, not only in my private life, in my family, but also in my other relationships, and I told myself, oh my god,
Mm.
what was happening there. I never could realize that it was narcissism, it was narcissistic abuse. I thought, oh, I'm for more than half of it, I thought I am the problem, or I was the problem. I was the one who caused that. But after doing the film and doing the research and everything, I was thinking by myself, no, actually, I was fine. That was not my fault. That I wasn't the problem. The problem was somewhere
Yeah.
somewhere else. And but I was accused to be the problem. And I thought by myself, okay, Now, whenever I meet people and I talk to people or so, I just right away get it that with someone something might be questionable. I don't accuse people for being narcissists also at the first sight or whenever I see a small thing, but then I will be a little bit careful with my behavior, so, and try to figure it out after a couple of meetings or so, if it's necessary to meet more, to find out if I'm right or not.
That's
I
fascinating.
also I also want to add something that I learned throughout this whole process of like having you over for the interviews and filming and also portraying the character of Sarah, which then was a whole different dimension for me. Um, I throughout this whole process, which took a couple of months, I focused more on asking myself the question of what do I really want? Like it sounds so basic, but we're so trained to like first of all look at what is good for the situation, what are the other people expecting me to do. But now I'm like taking more time to define, oh, this is what I want, this is what I feel comfortable with.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't do you care if I share that you guys are connected to each other? I mean, is that okay? I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's
they're
fine.
married. So these 2 are married, and they're director and producer, and you're the producer, Stephanie, which, I found it was fascinating was I got to watch the 2 of you in dynamic with each other. I'm sure you knew that us as experts could not be watching you, right? I'm assuming you would know that we were. But what I
Yeah.
really thought was powerful is the way that you guys negotiated power between the 2 of you and how you managed control because, he's on the set. Well, at least when I was there, he was on the set directing, and yet you are behind at another level directing at a bigger level. So it was really fascinating watching the coordination and the cooperation that was happening. That was very, very lovely. Very lovely. There was a question that came in. People were curious who writes the musical score and how does that all work?
The musical score for now is a question also for us, but we are in negotiation with some composers for now. They are not well known or known at all, but they are very 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 good musicians and composers, and we are finding the best composer for the film. But the piano scenes and the singing parts and the melody and the text is done by Kari Jacobs. She has just one song on Apple Music, I believe,
Okay.
which is a very very nice beautiful song, and we are in negotiation with her and her composing partner, so to see if we could continue on the scores as well, to or not. So
I love that. I know I remember even being interviewed by you guys and it was like it's really weird to think, hey, you guys were seeing if I was a fit just as much as of whether or not I wanted to be a part of the project. And it's sort of like, yeah, but I love the way that you guys are very meticulous about every possible detail of this whole project. Anything else that you want people to know as we sort of head towards wrapping up today that you think is really important about this? We have been posting the link. People are saying they're signing up. We also have it in the show notes for those who haven't seen it in the chat, but it's also in the show notes of this today's live. But anything else you'd like them to know about this movie or about you both?
um about this movie, it is very important to us to raise awareness and to show people that anyone out there can be stuck in such relationship and can start such relationship, and no one can say I won't, or I'm very very aware, I'm very educated or so. It won't be the case. it
Yeah.
it could happen in a second, and you don't you won't realize that until you are into that, and you have almost no way out.
Yeah.
And it is important also for us to show people that the survivors or the people who are trapped in such relationships, they want to get out of this relationship. It's not that they don't want, or because many times the people say, yeah, hey, you could leave, but you don't, so it's your fault. They want, but they are trapped. They are trauma bonded. They don't have, because if you go somewhere, if you're in such a relationship and you go to someone else's and say, hey, my relationship is like this, they don't believe you, because the narcissist is showing their best face to the other. So
Right.
they accuses you, yeah, hey, you are complaining about a very good relationship. Well, what are you there? And especially for men who are in such relationships with narcissistic female partners, it's worse, because whenever they want to complain or they go to someone else, they say, yeah, hey, you are a man and you are complaining about a woman. You're putting down a woman. Don't do that. So that stuff, and we want to say that it could happen to anyone else. And this topic needs awareness, because nowadays it will be talked about, but very superficial.
Yeah.
Many people think about narcissism, about someone, about narcissists, think about someone who wants to be in the middle of attention, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's not just it. That it's very broader and very, very wider, and in many cases it could be very dangerous.
I appreciate the fact that you do have a man story. We don't highlight that enough. And you're right. There's somebody, another creator. There was his situation became physical, and it was towards him. He was being abused, and the police officer said to him, "Listen, all she has to say is that you struck her too, and you would be the one tonight leaving." And I never realized to the degree that men stand in a very vulnerable position. Very vulnerable position. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining me today. I'm excited about this. I can't wait for the release myself. And I really, really deeply appreciate that you're doing this. So thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for being part of the project, for
Thank you.
trusting us, accepting our offer, and coming to 10 hours, 11 hours flying from the US to Germany, for being part of the project. Also, you just said at the very beginning that you were very sick and with pain and problems. We didn't know that. You didn't say anything.
No, I didn't say anything. I didn't know. I mean, I know how sick
if
I
if
was, but
if we knew that, we would do many different things. But it's very generous from you, and we are very happy to have such amazing experts like you, Dr. Curry, like Dr. Ramani, like Lisa Sani, like Daniel Radin, like Manjit Ruprai and Emma Devi in the film. This is amazing that we have such support, and that we have a community that is supporting us. That's amazing.